Hey guys, I want to talk about this study because it's generating a lot of discussion about this topic of natural immunity from COVID infection. Is it as good as vaccination? Is it better than vaccination? How much will it protect you? This study is not giving us new information. We've already known, in fact, that natural immunity is very strong after COVID infection, but it's confirming that, and it's a very large study. So they looked across 6 different states at about 24,000 people who tested positive for COVID. They compared them to over 97,000 people who tested negative, and they followed them out for several months to see what the chances were that someone would get reinfected after originally having COVID. And they found that the people who had COVID had about an 85% lower chance of being reinfected compared to people who didn't, and about an 88% lower chance of being hospitalized with COVID. So protection that's very similar to the protection numbers we've talked about with vaccines, and that protection was actually sustained out to 9 months. So arguably even a longer period of protection than we get with vaccines, and this is similar to what we've seen in previous studies and in systematic reviews. So natural infection is protective. The caveat, though, is that this study was before Omicron, and people know that Omicron is quite different than other variants. It has quite a few mutations. The result of that is that our vaccines are less effective against Omicron than they have been against previous variants, but that's also true for natural immunity. If you've had infection with any of the previous variants, your protection forward against Omicron has not been nearly as good as your protection against other variants. It's estimated that that natural immunity effect dropped from a 90% protection down to about a 55% protection from Omicron, which is why a lot of people, when Omicron came, got breakthrough infections after having had previous infections with COVID. So the point is not that natural immunity is not protective. The point is that you don't want to get natural immunity, because to get there, it means you have to go through this infection. And this infection can be a nasty thing. It can make you really sick. It can kill you. Almost 1 million people in the US have died. 15 to 20% of people will get long-term symptoms from this infection, lasting months, even more than a year after infection. And that's not only people with severe disease, it's many people with mild disease. So the idea behind the vaccines is to give you a comparable level of protection without having to go through getting the infection. One more point, and that's about hybrid immunity. The best kind of protection is not from vaccines, and it's not from natural infection. It's from the combination of the two, and that's called hybrid immunity, because you get great antibodies from the vaccine against the spike protein, and you get great antibodies from natural infection against all sorts of different other parts of the virus. And when you put that together, you get a synergistic effect. So if you've had the infection, go out and get a vaccine, and that's the maximum protection you can get. If you've had the vaccine and you've been unlucky and you've had a breakthrough infection, consider yourself well protected.